Hey everybody, welcome back. So I've been going on these long walks and just allowing my mind to wander, and I had a moment where I saw myself. I said, "Oh, that's you. That's what you're doing." And I realized you are being prideful because you have a false sense of humility in your life. And of course, we can have this sort of external representation of a virtue. For instance, like we can be humble with respect to the world in that maybe we don't spend a lot of money on like luxury items or nice cars. We're not sort of flexing our material wealth, right? We're being humble in the sense of the world. We're not really living like we have a lot of money, for instance. Maybe we're living like we are relatively poor or, middle class or whatever it is for you. So there's this external sort of humility represented there. But I was really thinking about the internal sort of humility and how the internal humility for me has to do with extremes. So for instance, it's there's this natural inclination for me, and I think other idealists, to live within extremes. Yes. Where we say the world should be this way or this way. We're very black and white with our representations of our value judgments, which is a beautiful thing. It's wonderful. I encourage you to keep doing that. But what I want you to start to see is that there's a way to do that that's actually responsible and healthy. I think the responsible and healthy way is when we sort of have that internal humility, where we are not representing the world, but we're representing ourselves in an accurate way, where we're confronting the reality of ourselves first before we judge ourselves and others in these extreme ways. It's very clear that the world is not the way it should be. And I guess if it was the way it should be, then we wouldn't really have much to improve, would we? It's really my great call to adventure to make the world better. But I think that the truth is that we can only really do that if we humble ourselves. And for me specifically, I'm seeing a pattern of extremes. So humility for me is being very, very, unextreme, being moderate in all these ways in life. For example, I have, maybe there's something I want to learn. Does that mean I sit down and read the whole book in one day? Well, that would be sort of prideful, wouldn't it? I think it would be more humble to read like one little section at a time. So that's an example. Or with food, drink, relationships, just really honoring this sense of moderation, observing the mean, as Aristotle would suggest. This embodying of virtue through genuine humility has a lot to do with not clinging to extremes, but confronting reality with moderation, temperance, patience, humility, all these things. So for me, that's very encouraging. It's a very hopeful message to take very seriously that perhaps the good life has a lot more to do with being patient and being very, very, moderate within life, and trying to avoid these extremes and clinging too much to these extremes. I find that can make us feel very impassioned and very emotional, and in some sense really high, which is not really conducive to the long-term well-being of yourself and especially other people, because we can't really meet people if we're embodying these extremes, right? So does that mean extremes are bad in and of themselves? I don't think so. I think that as a general rule, it's important to understand that extremes are extreme for a reason, because they're really useful for extreme circumstances. But most of life is not about extremes. It's about cultivating a balance in life. And as someone who is very, very committed to healing and producing genuine peace in the world, I'm seeing that real healing comes from humility, observing the mean, and trusting ultimately that everything is really manifesting the way it ought to be if we are actually humble, if we actually are observing that mean. So I appreciate you for watching this video, and I hope to see you again in a new video, because it would be really wonderful to see you again. I encourage you to like the video, because it would be really nice to have that engagement, and I encourage you to comment on this video, because I'd love to hear any thoughts or feelings you might be having, if you can relate. And of course, if you're somebody who's new and we're meeting for the first time, nice to meet you. I hope that you will subscribe and come back to think about life with me again. All right, take care.